Now, there is a saying that goes, those who do not remember their history are condemned to repeat it. This is the case of Africa and Africans for that matter. We have had a long history with ups and downs that has defined who we are today. And for this history to be transmitted to the future generation, it must be told to us by competent people who know what our history looks like and how it has affected us. In today's video, I want us to listen to this speech by one Dr. Arikana Chihombori. She is the daughter of Africa who has been speaking and presenting the case of Africa to the world stages at different levels. She is speaking passionately at the Nkrumah Memorial, where she spoke to opinion leaders in Ghana and made some salient remarks that I want all of us to focus on. Let's watch this, then come back and talk about it more.
Centuries ago, people who don't look like you and I sat in their homes far away from Africa and talked about an amazing continent that had everything and anything that they could ever wish for and wondered how they could get there. So it is a few adventurous ones found their way to Africa. They quickly reported back of the amazing kingdoms with well-established educational systems, legal systems, health systems, and they wanted it all. They found a continent with riches that they could only dream of. They too wanted all of that. So they started sharing the news about an amazing continent far away from where they reside. Little by little, they started coming to Africa. They came from Britain, from France, from Italy, from Belgium, from Germany, all over Europe to find out the amazing, wonderful things that were going on in our Africa. They set out to make us believe that the little bit of peanuts that they brought to Africa were wonderful and amazing and more desirable than what we had in our beloved Africa. The process of brainwashing the Africans and making us disrespect that which is consequentially African began centuries ago. They sent missionaries to put us into submissive states of mind, so when they followed to steal that which belongs to us, we were already ready to turn the other cheek. And the other cheek, yes, we did turn. They made us believe that our black skin was undesirable and ugly. Have you ever wondered, why is it that we automatically know that we are inferior to them? There was an experiment that was held a few years back. A young black man, a rather child, was given a group of white dolls and a group of black dolls. The young boy was asked which doll was beautiful. He pointed at the black doll, at the white dolls rather. He was asked which doll was mean. He pointed at the black doll. He was asked which doll was friendly. He pointed at the white doll. And he was asked which doll looked more like him. Reluctantly, he pointed at the black one. The child, only 5 years old, was defeated before his life even began. No self-respecting mother, father, aunt, uncle would have sat this child and told them that they were beautiful. They were ugly, rather. But because the process was put in motion centuries ago, when the white people came to Africa and taught us about Jesus Christ, who was white, Jesus Christ with blue eyes, They told us that white was better than black. Have you ever seen a real white person? We went to school. They taught us about the colors. Black color, green color, orange color, white color. But when it came to describing people, they said, never mind about the colors that we told you about. We are white. Have you ever seen a white person? I have not. The deceit started then. We never questioned it. We said, okay, you're white, even though we know you're not white. And it didn't end there. Then they went on and brought the Bible. They said there's a place called heaven and a place called hell. In heaven, there are angels who are lovely, wonderful, desirable, and we all must strive to be like them. And oh, by the way, they are white, like us. And there's also a place called hell. There's the devil there, who is mean and hateful and does all the undesirable things, and you don't want to be like him. And by the way, he is black like you. And again, we didn't question that. So it is the destruction of the African mind started years, centuries ago, with blatant lies that we have never sought out to call out as lies for what they are. So it is, they said our blunt noses are no good. You must have a straight nose to be considered beautiful. We said, you're right. We agreed. It didn't end there. They put in policies to take everything that belonged to us, our natural resources. And before you know it, they were coming from Germany. They were coming from Europe, from France, from Britain. They were looting from black people. They started fighting each other. Let's talk about really distribution of Africa for us. Let's prevent a European war on the African soil. So it is, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, they met in Berlin in 1884 in what is now called the Berlin Conference. Berlin Conference is not just a piece of history that you must understand in order to pass your exams. No. English. Pretty soon you are in DRC. You're speaking French. Go a little bit west, you are in Equatorial Guinea, you're speaking Spanish. Keep going up north, you're now in Cameroon. In southern Cameroon, you're speaking English. And keep going up north, you're now in northern Cameroon, about the Berlin Conference, among many other issues. And after what I thought was a pretty good discussion, two economists walk up to me, African economists. They said, but Ambassador, we can't keep talking about the Berlin Conference. It's a thing of the past. And these were two economists. Many of them are the ones who are being sent to Africa to push policies that are detrimental to Africa's development. They simply did not understand the significance of the Berlin Conference as a policy that remains alive and well today, as long as we have a country called Togo, as long as we have a country called Malawi, as long as we have a country called Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and many others. Countries with 2 million people. Countries that are being told, oh, let's go to the world market and trade, and you are as equal as China with 1.4 billion people. Yes, Gabon, with your 1.5 million people. Come, get into this boxing ring with China. You are equal, and when you are defeated, it's like, wait a minute. What's wrong with you, Gabon? You went into the boxing ring with China and you lost? What's your problem? Berlin Conference was designed to make sure that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated to this day. So it is they ruled us under colonization. if you were from Zimbabwe, your country was ruled from Britain. If you were colonized by the French, you were ruled from Paris. And the beat went on until little by little, leaders began to emerge who complained about something wrong with this picture. The likes of Kwame Nkrumah questioning, why is it that we, the black people, the mothers and fathers of humanity, the people who showed the world what it means to be civilized, why are we being treated as second-class citizens on earth? We, the people with the only dominant gene on earth, for some of you young people, I need you to understand that. That we as are the only people with a dominant gene, and the black gene simply cannot be defeated, simply cannot be destroyed. And that is one reason why they are so afraid of us. I often say, if you were to take genes of the different races and put them in a saucepan, take the Chinese gene, throw it in there. Take the white gene, throw it in there. Take the Japanese gene, take the black, any gene, you bring them in a saucepan, put them on a fire. Guess what? The rest of the genes will melt away, and the only gene that will remain standing is the black gene. Why? Because you are dominant. You cannot destroy a dominant gene. And being that we are the mothers and fathers of humanity, why are we being treated as second-class citizens? Kwame Nkrumah wanted to know. Many other African leaders wanted to know. We started asking questions, and the drumbeat got louder. It got so loud that they didn't have a choice but to back out. So wherein came in neo-colonization. Between the 1950s and 1960s, we saw African countries one by one become independent. Guess what, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters? We were given fake independence. We were given independence by name. The multinational companies that existed during colonization, they have never left Africa to this day. They simply lay low. Economic liberation was blatantly denied from the Africans. We were made to believe that we were free. Free from what? French countries got it the worst. As they were receiving their independence from France, they were made to sign a document which they called the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. Young people, I need you to write that down. The Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. On one hand, we want you to sign this document telling you that you are free. But on the other hand, we want you to sign this other document called the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization that simply says you agree to continue to be colonized in a different way. The animals simply changed clothes. And what was so bad about the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization? It said, your minerals discovered and yet to be discovered, they belong to France. French companies had the first right of refusal. Your bank reserves, at that time it was 85% of your bank reserves are going to be deposited with France. And if should you need some of those funds, you have to put in an application for a loan with the French Central Bank. And if approved, you can only access 20% of what you deposited the previous year as a loan at commercial interest rate. I want to repeat that, young people. I need you to listen to me. You have been depositing money for the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and when you need your own money, you have to apply for it as a loan at commercial interest rate, and you can only access, if approved, 20% of what you deposited the previous year. The rest is gone. France is keeping it. Records show that France would invest those funds in the French stock market with returns in excess of over 300 billion a year. And France kept all that since the 1950s to this day. Your military could only be trained by France. Your military equipment could only be bought from France. Your language of instruction could only be French. So if you were to be a president of any of the former French colonies, your first day in office, your chief of staff shall come to you and say, Mr. President, I must read to you what is stipulated by the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization, because if you do not follow this, your head could find itself hanging from a tree. So, Mr. President, you have to deposit 85% of your bank reserves with France. Mr. President, you cannot do anything about your natural resources. French companies have the first right of refusal. Mr. President, your military can only be trained by France. Mr. President, you can only buy military equipment from France. If you stay from those main basic things, Mr. President, you're free to run your country any which way you want. What kind of president is that? So it is, as I traveled around the United States and the Americas, and I would talk about what was happening in Africa. To my surprise, the Africans, but Ambassador, the African leaders are corrupt. I get it. We have some that are corrupt, but we also have some good leaders. But the question is, what kind of a president do you have who has given up natural resources, who has given up financial resources, who has given up control of it? What kind of a leader is that? We have to talk about the multinationals. In addition to that pact, in addition to the constraints that are being put on African leaders, in addition to the fear of having coups and African leaders being eliminated when they try to do that which is right for their people, we also had to deal with the multinationals that never left Africa since colonization to this day. We too must call them out, because they too are another axis of evil. They are robbing Africa to the tune of trillions every year. They use safe havens to hide their returns. They are using illegal means to loot out of Africa. Look at DRC. You have tarmacs in the middle of the jungle. 747s flying into DRC, picking up minerals and flying right out of Africa. And this is happening all over Africa. You have NGOs that are sent to Africa not to help you, NGOs that are coming to Africa to make sure that they continue to destabilize your countries by any means necessary. Neo-colonization is colonization that simply changed clothes. As we talk about our Africa and what is ailing our beloved continent, as we talk about institutions of higher learning, it is important that children, you understand the three axes of evil: imperialism, colonization, neo-colonization. Understand them fully and understand how they are being used to keep Africa where they want Africa to be. You see, a liberated and informed Africa is an Africa that is dangerous to the Western world. To what extent are we going to continue to be stupid? To what extent are we going to continue to be used as instruments of our own self-destruction? To what extent are we going to stand up and say enough is enough? We have failed you as your elders. We are leaving you in Africa that is not where it should be, and for that we apologize. But all is not lost. I do know one thing, that there are enough of us who get it, enough of us who are committed to making sure that we tell you young people the truth and nothing but the truth. The struggle for Africa is a very simple one. We're asking the Western world to do unto us what they would want done unto them. Plain and simple. We're simply speaking our truth. You see, they never change. And that's why I was asked to come here and share with you, young, bright minds, that which you need to know. As this university is preparing you for the future, for you leaders of tomorrow, you must be armed with knowledge and understanding of who you are. We have a responsibility to empower you, remind you that you are the mothers and fathers of humanity. Own your power. We must let you know what your power is. You are a black woman. That's your power. Own it. You're black men. That is your power. Own it. You are an African. That is your power. Own it. Stand on the tallest mountain and proclaim to the world who you are, the proud, the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible African. That is who you are. And no one can take that away from you unless you allow them to do so. Understand what the World Bank is doing in Ghana. Understand what the IMF is doing in Ghana. Understand what the NGOs, even the embassies in some cases, are doing in Ghana. You, the people, have the power. But how do you change your Africa if you don't understand it? The abuse and exploitation of Africa must come to an end. Imperialism must come to an end. Colonization must come to an end. We demand a free Africa that is going to be treated fairly, just like anybody else. Plain and simple. To that end, are you all prepared to fight for what belongs to you? Because this is not going to be easy. Getting rid of those people out of Africa is not going to be easy. It's going to take a deep understanding and a commitment to fight. It is a crusade. Make no mistake about it. It is not for the faint at heart. But we can only fight if we have that resolve and we understand that which we are fighting for. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. No one can continue to abuse us to the extent that we have been abused. You children are our future. You have the intelligence, you have the energy, and I know if we can just join hands, a little wisdom that we might share with you, and the energy that you have, you are a formidable force, and the world knows it. Africa is going to take her place on the world stage. And we, your elders, are here to support you. We are here to give you our shoulders to stand on. And once again, let me reiterate, we apologize for what we have done to our Africa. We apologize for failing to defend your Africa like we should. But all is not lost. You have our commitment. You have our support. We have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. And this time, we're going to fight with knowledge. Let's honor our ancestors. Let's honor Kwame Nkrumah. Let's honor Nanaya Asantwa, a brave and powerful lady, the gatekeeper of the stool, the golden stool for the Ashanti people. And to the young ladies, may I remind you that this moment is calling for girl power. Nanaya Asantwa, when the men wanted to give up the golden stool to the British, she stood her ground. She said to the men, if you cannot come together and defend the golden stool, Nanaya Asantwa was going to call upon her women friends. The women were going to pick up arms and fight until each and every one of them was down. But she, as a woman and the gatekeeper of the golden stool of the Ashanti kingdom, was not going to allow the British to once again humiliate us and take the golden stool which housed the spirit of the Ashanti people. So it is Nanaya Asantwa shamed the men who came together, organized, and fought to defend the golden stool, which remains in the hands of the Ashanti kingdom to this day. This moment is calling for more Nanaya Asantwas. They come in as women, they come in as men. The question is, do you have the courage to stand up and defend your Africa? The time is now. Failure is not an option. Viva Africa! Viva Africa! Viva Africa! Viva Ghana! Thank you, my children, for this opportunity.
Now, that is such a great speech by Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. She is always very passionate about issues relating to Africa and how Africa can develop and remove itself from the strangle of the colonizer. You know, in Africa right now, the colonizer controls a lot of things. We may claim that we have our independence, but this independence does not sum up to much because everything that is happening in the continent is still being controlled by Western organizations. And that is why new leaders are coming up. People like Ibrahim Traore are coming out to really speak for the African child, to speak for the African person, because much of the things that have always happened in the continent have always favored the white man, and this should not be the case. Africa is the land of the black man, and it is the land of the original people, where we as Africans must continue benefiting from its own resources. Let us not allow our resources to be stolen and taken to other countries. We need to develop our continent and have this development benefit us as a people. Now, when we talk about our relationship with Western nations, I think it has come a time when this relationship must end. Because if we really assess this relationship with Western nations, we are realizing that Africa is always on the losing end. You don't benefit, and Western nations will not put up policies that can benefit you. So here is a little research on this issue. Ending the relationship with colonizers is crucial for Africa's future. Historically, colonial powers exploited Africa's resources, subjugated its people, and disrupted its societies. The legacies of colonialism, such as artificial borders, economic dependency, and political instability, continue to impact African nations. Colonialism entrenched economic structures that prioritize resource extraction over local development. African countries were often left with economies heavily reliant on a few commodities, making them vulnerable to global markets, fluctuations, and hindering sustainable growth. By severing ties with colonial structures, Africa can begin to address these imbalances, promoting diversified economies that better serve its people. And I think this is the thing. Look at how African people have been subjugated and disenfranchised in many aspects. We are being told to grow crops that are given to us by multinational seed companies like Monsanto and many others. And these companies do not support growth of ancient food that African people used to eat. They are doing this to have control of our food production sector. This will give them power to control what we eat and to determine when we can have food. And this will give us, and this will return us back to slavery as it was before. So I think Africa must end these ties with slave masters who are our former colonizers. Politically, colonial powers imposed arbitrary borders, creating states with divided ethnic and cultural groups. This has led to ongoing conflicts and weakened national unity. Ending colonial legacies allow African nations to reconfigure their political boundaries in a manner that reflects the true demographic and cultural composition, fostering greater stability and harmony. You know, this arbitrary division of Africa without any input of African people is something that we must contest from the onset. Because how on earth can we brag that we are Kenyans, we are Ugandans, we are Nigerians, yet these divisions and naming of our countries did not involve us. It is something that we were given and then claimed that we are independent. If Africa is to gain any independence, then it should return to its original state when colonizers had not invaded the continent. How on earth can we have a country that is divided based on the desires of Western nations? And then they come to tell us about democracy and everything, when Africa was not a divided continent. It was a one continent, one people who are united by the Ubuntu spirit. So this is really a serious issue that must be considered. Moreover, decolonization involves reclaiming cultural identity and autonomy. The colonial era often suppressed African languages, traditions, and governance systems. By moving away from colonial influences, Africa can revitalize its cultural heritage and implement governance models suited to its unique context. I think this is a very salient point. African governments, as they are today, do not serve the African people. They are tools used by Western nations to control the African people. The governance structure, the thing we call democracy, is an alien to African people. We had our kingdoms that were very, very well organized and operated in a manner that we did not have conflicts within ourselves. Anything, any societal issue was sorted by our governance structures that we had. So the new structures that we were given by the colonizers have given us a new life that is not truly African. So putting away these political structures that they gave us can really help us go back to our native governance structures that help us grow and be African people with the true identity of Africans. Finally, ending relationships with former colonizers enables African countries to forge new equitable partnerships. They can engage with other global actors on their own terms, negotiate better trade deals, and attract investments that genuinely benefit their economies and societies. In essence, breaking free from colonial legacies empowers Africa to reclaim its resource, culture, and political sovereignty, paving the way for sustainable development and self-determination. This is a very salient point that I think we must accept and really embrace the speech that our Queen, Dr. Arikana Chihombori has given to us. Tell me down in the comment section what you think about this. And if you're watching us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and also share. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.